Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time today. We're so grateful to you. This is a question a lot of people are asking, right? Does the United Nations have the same effectiveness in the world today as it did in the past? And then more specifically, what is the United Nations role, and Switzerland in particular, in dealing with the dynamics of international relations, resolving conflict, and then helping powers to re-engage? Because there is sometimes a lot of mistrust that happens between countries.
Yes, the world is under stress in an unprecedented matter, and the multilateral system is grappling with a multitude of challenges at the same time. We have the recovery, the socio-economic consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have an increase in conflicts. We have the breach of the Charter and international law, and of course climate change. And in addition to that, the threats to sustainable peace are shifting continuously. So we are facing emerging technologies like artificial intelligence. We are facing the climate change, information, disinformation. So all these interconnected threats are rapidly reshaping the global security environment.
Madam Ambassador, certainly the world has shifted after the pandemic. Our whole lives have changed, the way we work, our economy. There have been so many impacts. China just recently opened up after the pandemic, and they've had quite a robust recovery. And I'm wondering, how does that impact the global economy if their recovery is strong?
Well, so let me say that last year, also my country, Switzerland, saw its economy recovered as expected, like many other countries around the world, like you just mentioned. However, the geopolitical and global macroeconomic environment remains very challenging. We have seen a worldwide surge in inflation with difficult consequences in many regions, and the impact of Russia's military aggression against Ukraine has stalled the recovery in international trade. Moreover, countries are increasingly linking their economic and trade policies to the larger security policy considerations. So for Switzerland, we continue promoting an open, frictionless and regulated trade, and we will continue to support the resilience and diversification of the economies of developing and emerging countries within the framework of economic development cooperation. And I think that is still the best recipe, internationally speaking. So in our cooperation, we promote market access for people in order to create economic opportunities. And we also try to ensure that vulnerable groups, and in particular youth, can also be taken into account in all the activities to reduce poverty and inequality. So I think for the general global recovery, that kind of an approach is a very important one.
And Madam Ambassador, there's certainly a lot of mistrust in the world at this point in time. The war between Ukraine and Russia is now more than a year old. Switzerland has long been known for its military neutrality. It has given civilian aid to Ukraine. Russia wasn't too happy about that. How do you think Switzerland then performs to help negotiate a ceasefire, and how important is Switzerland's role in alleviating some of the mistrust that exists globally?
The crisis of trust and the complexity of the challenges we face really call for a stronger unity and a multilateral response. We need concerted efforts to rebuild confidence. So one lead is to review our toolbox and maybe enlarge it on the basis of best practice and international law. Another one is, I spoke about technological change, artificial intelligence. Maybe we can use also data science and those technological progresses as a tool to build trust. But the last one, I think, and still the most important tool in our toolbox is dialogue, and that's where Switzerland comes in. Talking to each other, trying to listen, trying to understand the perspective of the other, and building a common understanding. And there we can also try to facilitate that more and more. There is no secret recipe. It's about dialogue, and this is still the most powerful tool for trust and confidence building we have in our toolbox.
I'd like to shift gears now and talk about climate change, if I could. A lot of talk has been made about fighting climate change, and I'm wondering, what is Switzerland's role in helping achieve these goals? And what do you think, if you could, expand on what China should be doing, do you think, to help contribute to achieving those goals as well?
I think climate change is the challenge of our century, and it has to be at the core of multilateral, international, national and local efforts for all countries. So when it comes to my country, Switzerland, we are committed to strengthening multilateralism also in that field and the rules-based international order. In particular, we advocate for ambitious climate regime, and that means that we all have to implement the Paris Agreement principles, and all the actors have to play a role. All the actors have to play an important role.
Final question for you. You have a seat on the Security Council at the United Nations, and I'm wondering, what do you think personally are some of the biggest security threats globally that we face?
I think it brings me back to what I said at the beginning. It's the multitude of crises. It's the fact that the crisis is so strongly interconnected and interrelated that can seem overwhelming. But if I want to see some hope, then I have the impression that many countries really want to turn that trends around, those scary trends indeed. And in particular, the youth of many countries want to turn these trends around. And there is no better place than the UN to start working and helping to turn these trends around. And that's also what Switzerland is trying to do in the UN Security Council.
And certainly the fact that Switzerland is a neutral nation makes a big difference in helping achieve some of those goals as well. Your Excellency, thank you so much.
Thank you very much to you.